To our players all the time about statistics and how they don't really mean a whole heck of a lot. But let's just say we have these numbers. I'm going to give you these numbers. Let's call it Team A and Team B. Let's say you weren't at the game. You didn't know the end result, okay? So Team A has 23 first downs. Team B has 11. Team A has 156 yards rushing. Team B has 75. Team A has 212 yards passing. Team A has 157. Total yards, obviously, 368 to 232. Yeah. Okay. Third down conversions. Team A is 8 of 15. Team B is 2 of 11. Total number of offensive plays. Team A has 78. Team B has 49. Number of punts in the game. Team A only punts 3 times to Team B's 7. And time of possession is 37 minutes to 23 minutes in favor of Team A. Who do you think is going to win the game?
Team A wins by at least 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, well, Team A lost in this case. And here's the bigger stat that makes the biggest difference. Team A had 4 turnovers. Team B didn't have any. So Team B played a cleaner game. And I give Coach Laycock and William and Mary the credit for playing a much cleaner game, even though when you look at all those other statistics, which, as I say all the time, in some aspects are meaningless, they held on to the football. We shot ourselves in the foot a few times. And there's other plays. That's what you see on paper. There's other plays, and it's not just the 4 turnovers to the 0 turnovers. There was other plays where instead of having a 3rd and goal at the 2 after a 6-yard gain from the 8, we ended up 2nd and goal from the 17 because we had a penalty. Yeah. You know, instead of having a 3rd and 3, we have a false start and it's a 3rd and 8 and we don't convert it on another drive. Instead of a 2nd and 7 going into, at worst, a 3rd and 7 after an incomplete pass, it's a 3rd and 17 after an errant snap. So when you combine all those things and then 4 turnovers to 0 turnovers, the end result is a 7-point loss for Team A, and in this case, Team A was Villanova.
Yeah, and Coach, going into the game, the wind was a factor. It was blowing probably 30 to 35 miles an hour. You guys were the only team to score going into the wind. You get a touchdown, and I thought maybe a little bit of a lost opportunity was that first quarter you had the wind, and you weren't able to put any points up on the board.
Right, no doubt. And they did a great job on their opening drive, to be honest with you. You know, you win the toss. Yeah, you win the toss and you defer. So obviously they're not going to give you the extra possession even with the bad wind. So they take the ball. So we're going to kick it out of the end zone and hopefully stop them and get them to punt into the wind and hopefully have great field position. They got a couple first downs. They only gained 30 yards, okay, from the 25. So they only got to midfield, just over midfield. But then they punted and they downed it inside our 1-yard line. So now we're starting on a 99.5-yard drive inside our own 1-yard line with the wind. We stalled on that drive. We ended up punting it back to them and so on. But there were no points in the first quarter. And like you said, the wind advantage that we had was negated because they held onto the ball in that first drive, and then we had the turnovers. We had 2 opportunities in that first quarter. And like I said, the penalty on the one play, the interception in the end zone on the other play. And the places where our turnovers occurred were critical. You know, we're in the red zone. Okay, 3rd and goal at the 2 would have been better. We ended up 2nd and goal at the 17. We're still in field goal range at a 0-0 game with the wind behind us. So even if we don't get a first down or don't score a touchdown there, you can't get a first down when it's end goal. We don't get the touchdown. We still can maybe go up 3-0 and have some momentum in the first quarter. But instead, we end up throwing the interception in the end zone, and, you know, that negated points for us. And then the second interception we threw, they returned back to our 17-yard line.
Gave them a very short field, obviously.
Off of the 4 turnovers, they got at least 10 of their 24 points off of our 4 turnovers, and that made the difference in the ballgame.
And you guys get down, obviously, in the fourth quarter. You put 10 points up. You get right back, and you get it to 1 possession. You kick the field goal late to get it where I think you had 1st and goal again, unable to score, but you take the 3, so you make it a 1-possession game. You drive the ball down. You don't get it, but your defense comes up with a 3 and out. You get one last opportunity. Actually, the possession before was a snap that Zach couldn't handle. That's right. That's the 4th turnover that really kind of you had some momentum going. You get the 4th turnover there, but your defense steps on the field, does a great job, gives you one last opportunity, but you end up turning the ball over on downs.
Yeah, they had 3. Our defense had 5 3-and-outs for the game. 3 3-and-outs on their last 3 possessions. I think, to be honest with you, just looking at it again, I think they almost got a little too conservative. at the end of the game, you know, trying to run the clock, run the ball, and we stopped them. We held them to 3 and outs, and we were able to get the ball back, as you said, twice. We were at midfield with 3 minutes and 4 seconds to go. That's where we had the snap that was off to the left, and Zach couldn't recover it because it was a pass play. So the linemen are in pass protection mode. If it was a run play and we had a bad snap, Zach's all over it because now the linemen are moving forward. But with the linemen backing up in pass protection and getting pushed by the defender, Zach couldn't get to it, and their guy was able to get to it. So that stopped the first opportunity. And then the last possession, as you just mentioned, we still had plenty of time on the clock. We got the ball down 4th and 4 on their 36-yard line, and needed to convert that 4th and 4 and just came up short, and that was the game. So we had to waste our timeouts on the previous possession to stop the clock and preserve some time. So we didn't have any timeouts left or anything like that in that last drive. And, you know, we didn't convert on 4th and 4. And, again, William and Mary's credit, you know, they did a great job. They held onto the ball. They didn't have nearly as many plays as I already stated earlier, but with the plays that they had, they took advantage of it, and the turnovers they got, they took advantage of a real good field position, and, you know, it slipped through our fingers.
And as you mentioned in your kind of opening monologue there, it's not sometimes stats. It may be a stat or 2 stats, but it's a combination of taking care of the football. You mentioned, like, the novice like myself, whatever, just their ability to get 30 yards in that first drive and eat up 6-7 minutes going into the win was a big play in the game.
Yeah, and it, no doubt, it definitely negated our possession with the win behind us. But, you know, it never comes down. In a football game, 4 quarters, 60 minutes, however you want to explain it, it never comes down to any one thing. You know, Zach Bednarczyk, our quarterback, he's beating himself up for the 2 interceptions. You know, Paul Gratton, our center, is beating himself up for the 2 bad snaps. You know, a couple of the guys that had the penalties, they're killing themselves over the penalties. So it's not any one of those things, but when you have more of those things than your opponent, you're in harm's way, even though statistically you led in every other category. The only thing that matters is points for, points against, and usually turnovers are a direct correlation to those 2.
No doubt. All right, Coach, we'll take a quick break. We're going to be back here with more. It's Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Welcome back to Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Coach, we've got a special guest with us now. Number 38, senior defensive back Chucky Smith, all the way from Newbury Park High School in California. So, Chucky, how did you end up making the trip 3,000 miles east to Villanova?
My dad's side of the family is actually from North Jersey, around Pennington area. So we'd always go out to Ocean City every summer, and I would always fly into Philly, go to a camp, and then go on vacation for a week.
So is that how you landed him, Coach?
Yeah, that's how I guess we got him. I mean, he is a great guy to have in our program, and, we're going to talk about a couple of things that Chucky does, but, as far as dedication, leadership, all the things you're looking for in a guy, Chucky possesses all those things, and, starting to play some more safety for us lately, but he's been a unbelievable special teams player, and he's also like a special forces guy, if you will, because Chucky, when did you join? Why don't we talk about a little bit the Navy ROTC program that you got yourself involved with? When did you start getting involved with that? And we'll talk a little bit about what you do, what that entails, as well as trying to play football.
So I got involved sophomore year, I think. I was kind of planning on enlisting after graduating, and then kind of figured, well, I probably start getting in more running shape and doing more of that stuff and get a little bit more familiar. So I started working out with them sophomore year, and then someone kind of mentioned, like, hey, why don't you just apply for a scholarship? Why don't you just apply to be in? You're pretty much doing most of the stuff. So I ended up actually joining junior year, and then, I've just been a part of that. So it's just been working out with that in football now.
And I don't know how many people know this. I know a lot of people that are here tonight know this, but we practice in the morning, okay? So our meetings start at 7 o'clock, and that means we're on the field at 8:15. Well, the ROTC program is out there earlier than us. So there's a lot of days, correct me if I'm wrong, where Chuck will be with them at 6 in the morning and run 4 miles and then come to our 7 o'clock meeting and get ready to go do a full football practice.
Yeah, the meetings are nice. The meeting break and getting some breakfast is nice.
Yeah, we have breakfast delivered, and you're able to get a break and all that stuff. We had an event last night. We didn't have an event. Chris Long, Philadelphia Eagle, had an event. He has that waterboys.org organization that he started, the charity he started, and basically what that is I'm sure some people here know this as well. He's building clean water wells over in Africa and Tanzania and so on. And so we were involved with that last night, and we had we asked 10 of our players to volunteer at that event last night, and Chucky was one of those guys. So why don't you tell people about that event a little bit, how you enjoyed that experience last night, and why don't you tell them about one of the people you met that has a direct connection to your Navy ROTC connection?
Yeah. So the foundation was awesome. They're building clean and sustainable wells in Tanzania and East Africa, so they're self-sustaining, so there's people that are running them so they can be upkept and keep running for 10-plus years. So the foundation's awesome. They're charitable. It ended up starting from Chris Long climbing Mount Kilimanjaro and seeing the kind of conditions there, and then deciding to make a difference. And now from kind of his name in the NFL, it's just been grown to all these other players. Everything like all these big names have been helping out. Just been amazing.
And there was very good Villanova representation at that event last night.
Oh yeah.
The gentleman you met.
Oh yeah, Admiral Eastwood was there. He is a Villanova grad. He was a admiral in the Navy, which was awesome. I got to talk to him for a little bit, share some stories, some advice.
And you know Jim Eastwood
very well.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's one of great Villanova's, been around for a long time, loyalty award winner in previous years. And Chuck, I wanted to ask you, the ROTC program, what is your commitment? A lot of people talk about kids at the Naval Academy and their commitment post-graduation. What have you now, as you joined in your junior year, what will your commitment be in the ROTC program after you leave Villanova?
So it's still a 5-year commitment in the Navy after I graduate. I'll commission as an officer, and then it's 5 years, kind of depending on the job. If I go to like a pilot, that's much more training, and that's 5 years once you start, so that can end up being 8 or so years. But it's a 5-year contract.
And I know you were talking about retired Admiral Eastwood last night about what you were looking to maybe get yourself involved with. What were the areas you were talking about again?
Right now I'm looking at hopefully medical corps and medical school with them. That's kind of what my major was before signing up for ROTC, and that's kind of hoping to do something with that and hoping to be able to use that and help other people out there.
And your option B was?
Option B was either pilot or special forces.
There you go. Special forces. I told you. Special forces guy.
They still have drill Tuesday afternoons. I've been out of college a while, but they used to have drill every Tuesday, full uniform when you guys would march. You still have that?
We still have full uniforms on Tuesday. Drill is a special drill team now. It's not everybody, but yeah, we're still full uniforms on Tuesday.
So your biggest day for Tuesday, getting ready for your game plan,
Right.
I'm assuming. Coach, go through your Tuesday and then what Chuck does after that.
Yeah, Tuesday's the day you give them the scouting report, so the meetings are extended. Instead of starting at 7 o'clock, actually, we start at 6:45 to get the extra meeting time to go over the scouting report. And then, that's usually your longest day on the practice field, and then you start cutting back as you get to Wednesday, Thursday night, and obviously your walkthrough on Friday. So, yeah, this guy, I don't know when he sleeps. Why don't you share with everybody what you're studying academically and what your current GPA is?
I don't know if I know my exact GPA right now.
It's probably better than both of ours put together.
You know what? I think I know what it might be.
So I'm studying biology, pre-med. About to have an economics minor, and then joining ROTC gives me a naval science minor as well. And then GPA is somewhere above the 3.5 range.
Yeah, I know you're somewhere in that 3.6 range, so don't sell yourself short, because I just did a recommendation for you for one of the awards on campus. So yeah, I mean that's
incredible.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, Chuck, talk about just the discipline, the time management skills, all the things. Where did that come from? Is that your mom and dad and your upbringing? Is that just where did you find that as a young person in this world to find the discipline and the commitment to do all the things you're doing at such a young age?
Yep. You said I think it's definitely my parents. Dad was a Marine Naval Academy guy, class of '85, and then mom always getting on me for kind of slacking off in high school, and whenever I was trying to have fun, she was on my case. But yeah, it definitely comes from them, kind of teaching me never to be comfortable in a schedule, always trying to make kind of pushing your limits, seeing how far you can go, just with everything. Because it's just doing that, I guess.
And he is our leading tackler on our special teams. He's been special teams captain at least 2 weeks, and probably could be every week. But we do try to spread the wealth a little bit, and you can just by hearing him talk and all the things he's been able to accomplish, you can tell why. He's a special guy to have in your program.
And I remember early in the year when Julian had a couple of those targeting issues early in the year, he came in, had made big plays in the Temple game, got an opportunity to get, as you said, the safety positions, made a difference defensively for you as well.
Most definitely. And, he's a guy that we'll definitely miss when he's done. But I know he's going to go on to bigger and better things, and a guy that we'll be extremely proud of as he moves forward.
Chuck, well, we want to wish you the best of success when you do leave Villanova, but finish up strong this Saturday at Delaware, and we appreciate you taking some time and joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
We're going to take a quick break. It's Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Welcome back to Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. And, Coach, you started the show with a little bit of a Team A, Team B stats. I'm going to read you some stats, too, or some statistics, and maybe you can guess who this person might be.
Go ahead, shoot.
Started all 53 games in his career, 3-time first-team All-CA selection, 2-time first-team All-American by the Sports Network and the Walter Camp Foundation, 2010 first-team All-American by every organization, including the Associated Press and AFCA, Sports Network. He helped Villanova to a 40-13 record, including a 7-2 playoff mark and the 2009 FCS National Championship. In 2011, he played in the Senior Bowl. This one I think is the most impressive of all these great accolades. He finished 10th in the Outland Trophy battle, which is all levels of college football. Only FCS player to make that Outland Trophy watch list. Second-round pick by the Indianapolis Colts in 2011. Played from the Colts from 11 to 13, now presently with the New York Jets. And I'll let you introduce our guest.
And the first FCS player drafted in that draft.
You're right.
In the second round at number 49 selection overall. And that is one Ben Ajalana. Ben, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it. And, yeah, I mean, talk about those gaudy stats, but talk about how often does it happen where a guy can go 4 years and not miss a game?
Yeah.
You know, and to have the extended seasons like we were fortunate enough to have in 2009 and 2010. You know, 2009 we won the whole thing, so that's 15 games as opposed to the 11. And in 2010, even though we finished at 7-4, we were able to extend our season to the semifinals, so there was another 14 games. So to play 53 consecutive collegiate games without missing one, how the heck did you do that?
I would say it's a blessing, you know.
And you didn't miss many practices.
No. Around the championship run, I sprained my ankle.
Right.
But, you know, shout out to Justice Gaelic, my strength coach at the time, and you, because you definitely made it seem like we didn't have an option. So I guess I guess I told myself to just play through it all.
Right, and let's finish the shout out to Justice Gaelic because he was your strength coach at Villanova, and now he's your current strength coach at the New York Jets.
Yeah, he is. You know, when I was first released by the Colts and I walked into the building September 1st, 2013, he's literally like the first person I saw, you know, just putting guys through lift, and I think that's pretty cool to kind of see the Nova tree spread in my Nova family.
Yeah, no, that's good. To have a familiar face as you walk into a new building, it's got to be comforting at some point. And, you know, that's good. And Justice does a great job. And then, you know, I was going to make a little bit of a joke. No, you didn't steal my thunder. I was going to make a little bit of a joke because Ben was our left tackle, and our left guard at the time also played 53 consecutive games. Okay, but he wasn't a second-round pick, and you couldn't keep going with that. But Brant Klauser.
Oh, yeah, that's my buddy. He was in attendance for the game this past weekend, stayed with my wife and I, him and his wife. He was also all-conference. He was also all-American. He was my roommate. We talk all the time. So if you would have had a B column, you probably wouldn't be able to tell.
Right, and he was the left guard, you were the left tackle, but you were pretty much connected at the hip.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you guys are boys. Yeah. And now you're up here in New York and Philly and Jersey. You still have family over in Jersey, obviously, and he's now in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
All right, and now he also played post-Villanova.
Yes.
How many years did he play? He played arena ball.
Yeah, I want to say 3. He did 3.
Okay, with the Jacksonville team.
Yes.
In the highest level of arena. Because I remember we went to the Soul game.
Yeah, we were there.
When he came up and played against the Philadelphia Soul. So Klaus is an awesome guy as well. I'm unfortunately didn't get an opportunity to see him when you guys were up here this weekend. But we had a ton of alumni back for this William & Mary game, this senior day game, and I'm sure you saw a lot of the other guys as well.
I sure did. Met a bunch of people from obviously classes before I was born and somewhat, and it's really kind of exciting to see guys come back.
Right. Because
you never know what you get when you come to a Nova game outside of homecoming. Mm-hmm. But it was kind of cool. I even saw Coach Talley. You know, it was a good time.
Yeah, no, that was great. That was great. So, so you went obviously from Villanova into your pro career.
Yeah.
Okay, and your first couple years didn't go according to plan because you had a few injuries and so on and so forth. And
all that good health didn't carry to the pros for you, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
That's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Unfortunately. But what would you say for the people out there, or even our guys that are on our team currently that have those types of aspirations? What are the most important things? What are the things that a college guy should focus on if he's trying to play after college? You understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, you know, I would just try to say there's a lot of stuff you can't control, obviously in life, but also when the next level in the selection process, and just play the game to the best of your ability. Try your best to do all the right things, just pray and hope for the best. And depending on your position, if you're a lineman, bury people. If you're a wide receiver, make those catches, so on and so forth. I was just really fortunate, Coach. I remember I got my scholarship pretty early. Back in those days when Coach Ferrante was my offensive line coach, it was the end of training camp. He met with all the linemen from age order, class order, and I was the youngest one, so I met with him dead last, and he just sat down there, and he's like, hey, how was your camp? I was like, oh, it's hard, Coach. I'm just happy to be here, yada, yada. You do a lot of things well, Ben. I think you're a really good player. He had a wall of all his all-conference performers, and he's like, the last one the year before me was Christian Gaddis, who was at the game this weekend. Then there was a young man, Eamon Allen. He's like, this is one of the best guys I've coached. I think you could be better. And it's the first time someone's ever kind of spoke that kind of life into me. Don't know what he saw, honestly. And he said, if you want to, I think you can try and go to the next level. And that kind of lit the fire. And in those previous years, I just tried to do things like, hey, Coach, what can I do better? Watch some film, go for an extra run, talk to your strength coach, get an extra lift, go stretch. And it worked. So just do the little things and hope for the best, honestly.
Coach, what did you see in Ben? You talk about that first camp, maybe even on that film when you recruited him out of high school. What did you see in Ben that, as a young 18-year-old, you could say, hey, this guy can play at the next level?
Well, when we first saw him, he was a young 17-year-old because he had a late birthday. His birthday's in August, so he was a 17-year-old guy heading into his senior year in high school. And he came to our camp. We only had one prospect camp that year. That was kind of when this summer prospect one-day evaluation camps really started taking off. And we only had one camp that year, and Ben came to that camp and did a great job. I mean, he did a phenomenal job. I can't remember what his height and weight was at the time. I want to say we had him at 6'3" and change. You were probably about 280 at that time, somewhere around there. He ran a pretty good 40, which doesn't, get me too fired up as an offensive line guy. But then when we went to the drills, the lateral movement, the agility, the types of things he did there was super impressive. And then above and beyond that, when you have these camps, right, we're not just looking at the physical ability of the individual. We're also looking at body language and demeanor. And, when we give them a command or an instruction, can they carry that out and so on? And are they first in line, or are they the last one just moseying on over to the next drill and so on? And Ben was always first. I think we probably had 40 or 50 linemen at that camp that year. And so we cut them in half. 20 of them went to offense, 20 of them went to defense. Ben stayed on offense the whole time, and so you have 5 guys in the offensive line going at one time, so there's a line of 15 waiting. Ben never waited. He would start over here on the left and then come back around, and then next time I went down the line of 5, he'd be somewhere else, and then he'd plug himself in somewhere else. So, and he wasn't being rude about it. He wasn't like butting guys out of the way and all that. He was just being super proactive to get as many reps as he could. And, now these camps are non-padded. So you don't see the overall physicality. You see more of the flexibility and, as I said, the agility and those types of things. And then the want to be first in line and so on. So I remember right after that camp, I said, this guy who's at our camp, right? We're not Ohio State. We're not Penn State's camp. This guy can't be as good as I think I just saw. So right after that camp, I went inside and asked our guys who were taking the film, can you pull his film up? I went and watched it right after, which I never do. We usually wait for the next day or something, right? So, but he did so well, I wanted to go watch it right away to make sure I saw what I thought I saw. And sure enough, the agility was there, the hand placement was there, the number of times. He probably took 20 reps, and then there was other guys from my recruiting area that I were trying to find so I could evaluate them, and they were in there for like 3 reps. So I want the 20-rep guy,
no doubt,
not the 3-rep guy. You know what I'm saying? And you coached before, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. And, we ended up calling up Ben and his family shortly after that camp and offered you the scholarship. And not too long after that, you committed to us.
Yeah, it was crazy. To correct you real quick, I was technically that camp. I was 16.
Oh, 16.
Right? Yeah, because you're going into your senior year in
high
high school.
I think it was May or something. To date, my father often jokes it was easily the
I'll
best.
let you correct me now, but only because you're not playing for me anymore.
Thank you. My father often jokes it's easily the best, like $35 or $40 he spent at the time.
That's right. Return on investment was pretty good for the Aguilana family.
Massive. So I did that camp, and I mean, Villanova offered me like a month later, and I thought it was a joke. So I slept on it. I didn't tell anyone. The next day I told my dad. He's like, well, do you want to go? I was like, yeah, sure. He's like, do you know where Villanova is? I was like, no. I put so little thought into it, and I was just, ignorance is bliss. I know they wanted me to come up for a college visit, and I was just like, I'm okay. I don't want to go. And then I had to speak to my dad. My father's like, son, you need to go to this. And I was like, why? I'm already going, and just, thank goodness everything turned out for the best, and I was put in really good hands. But at the time, I was so floored it all happened, because my high school in 4 years, I only had 4 varsity wins.
Wow.
0-10, 0-10, 1-9. Correction, 3-7, and then 1-9. So like, I'm from New Jersey. You were gonna go to Rowan, Rutgers, Kane, and go live your life. So I'm just super appreciative that the opportunity came, and he and the staff saw it first.
Coach, we'll take a quick break. We'll continue with Ben's thought after we get back after this. It's Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Welcome back to Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. We're joined by 2009 national champion, 2010 All-American Ben Aguilana. And Ben, we were talking in between the break here. Right now you're going through a shoulder issue. Obviously, you're kind of out for the season. And talk about the rehab and hopefully your plans for the future.
Yeah, well, this training camp this past August, early in camp, I ended up tearing my rotator cuff, so I needed surgery on it. I was in a sling for about 6 weeks. It was a relatively larger tear. And this Thursday I'll be 12 weeks post-op, and it's slow. It's slow and steady. We're looking at about a good 6 months of just getting back to normal. And then there's always, getting ready for football and moving the men the size that I do and so on and so forth. So it's been very humbling. You don't realize how much you use your shoulder, and you use it for everything,
No doubt. And before we went to break, what I was going to bring up is as we're talking about the recruitment of Ben, he committed to us, prior to the start of his senior year. But then when he got into his senior year, there was other colleges that came through, right? Because, back then we didn't have an early signing period, which we do now. We have a December signing period. And, so Ben committed in the summer before the senior year. And then, we had to wait till the following February, which was the National Signing Day. And guys came through, but thankfully, because of Ben and his family and their word is their bond type of attitude, you told all the other recruiters, I'm good. I'm good with Villanova.
Yeah, I wouldn't even entertain the conversation. I would try to, pump up some of my other teammates. I was committed. You honor your word. You do what you say you're going to do, and obviously it looks like the best decision now. But back then it wasn't even a thought in my mind. I was just so appreciative you guys got to me so early, and just feel that kind of love that I just wanted to reciprocate it.
And Ben lives in New Jersey, 45 minutes from campus. Roughly, depending on traffic.
Depending on traffic.
45 minutes to an hour, depending on traffic. Rancocas Valley High School over there, Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And fortunately, we went to the playoffs 3 of your 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's times where you have guys like Chucky. Chucky was just on. He's from California. So we make the playoffs. Your first game's Thanksgiving weekend. Chuck can't go home on Thanksgiving Day for dinner and then come back for practice on Friday or the game on Saturday. If you live 45 minutes away, you would think you could go home on Thanksgiving, spend time with your family, and then come back for Friday and then a game on Saturday. Well, Clouser is 3 hours away. A couple other guys are further away, so my wife, Georgie, and I would have guys over to the house for Thanksgiving because we practice in the morning.
Yep.
And then the local guys would go home and take some teammates with them, all that. So Ben, Klaus, a few other guys came to my house for a Thanksgiving dinner.
I got to be a big turkey.
Okay. So that was year 1. So then year 2, we go to the playoffs. Ben comes over again. 45 minutes from 1. I'm like, Ben, don't your parents want you to come home for Thanksgiving and spend time with them? And then year 3, he comes over again. Right? So
you liked your wife's cooking, I think.
No, I mean, obviously. Georgia Ferrante throws one heck of a Thanksgiving spread. It's incredible. The goodie bags we get and the food she feeds us for like that following week. And
to-go containers were large.
I just wanted to hang out with my guys. That first year, my freshman year, we didn't make it to the playoffs, and I was at home Thanksgiving, and I was just like, no, I didn't come to Villanova to lose. I had many Thanksgiving Day games in high school, and we always lost those, and I'm just like, no. So when I finally got that opportunity, I enjoyed it, and I said, let's just keep the streak rolling, and each one got better, honestly.
And then not that football players or coaches or anybody, coaches' wives for that matter, are superstitious or anything, So
senior, he had no choice. He was coming.
That's right. If we were going to playoffs, he was coming over whether he wanted to or not.
I often joke, like if I lived closer, I would just casually maybe walk my dog on his street and be like, oh, hey, guys.
It's Thanksgiving. What do you got going? Yeah.
But, Coach, you talk about it a lot of time, and I always talk about it, especially with offensive linemen, that unit. It's right. Not the left tackle. It's the 5 guys and how they play together. And it sounds like obviously Ben was a team guy. He was a guy with his guys. I think he said that word 4 or 5 times in the interview, my guys. And talk about just the intangibles. We know the statistics. I spent half the show reading him, all of his accolades. But talk about the intangibles, the work ethic, those kind of things, the bonding that Ben did with his group when he was here.
Well, Ben mentioned the conversation. And to be honest with you, again, this isn't Alabama, and this isn't guys that are coming to Villanova just to prepare themselves for the next level, okay? But Ben is one of the few freshmen, and there hasn't been many that, I would have a conversation with about potentially playing on Sunday. But after what I saw in the summer and then freshman year, I did have that conversation with Ben, and he did the extra. I remember one year he would stay after every practice, not just occasionally. He would stay after every practice and work his pass sets. You were doing vertical sets out there with Coach George. Coach Mike George would have you out there after practice every day. And it might only be 5 or 10 minutes, but it's just added reps that are going to help you perfect your craft. And then the following year, I would see Ben stay out there with Coach Galick.
Yeah.
Because as you talked about earlier, you also got to work on increased flexibility. Helps prevent injury, all that stuff. So he would stay after every practice, even post-team stretch, to do extra with Coach Galick and all those things. And then I think Klaus actually brought you in on your earlier years to do the extra film study.
Yeah, that wasn't my cup of tea.
But then I think you finally got the understanding of the importance of not only opponent study but self-study. And then Ben would come in all the time and watch film on his own because, we're limited with the number of hours that we can require.
Yep.
And we're limited with the number of hours that we can ask of their time as student athletes because they have to go to class and those types of things. But the really great ones, the Westbrooks of the world, the Ajalanas of the world, the really great ones, they do the extra and they understand, because if they did just what we asked them to do and nothing more, then they're not going to get to the level that they've gotten to. And, you know, everyone out here hears about how Michael Jordan, first one in the gym, last one to leave. That's the mentality we're talking about. And Ben possessed that in all areas of what he was trying to do and what he was trying to accomplish.
And Ben, I asked the same question. Chuck, he was on earlier. You talk about your upbringing. You mentioned your mom and dad a lot. But just where did you find that self-discipline, that eagerness to be great? Like, some people are content with being good, and then there's other athletes that want to be great, and you seem to have that extra drive in you to – was it maybe fuel from not having a successful high school team? But what gave you that drive to be special?
Well, you know, my parents immigrated from Nigeria in the early 80s. And, you know, being the son of two immigrants, I grew up in a household where excuses just weren't – they were heard, but they just weren't, like, comprehended. They're not real. Oh, Mom and Dad, this is hard. You know what's hard, son? You remember when and they'll reminisce amongst each other. Remember when we had that language barrier and we both went to school and I had 2 kids at the time? And, you know, there were just no excuses. I'm the middle of 5 kids. I just, like, I have an older sister, an older brother, a younger brother and sister. Like, normally what I did I wasn't the first one. So it was showing me, like, hey, son, this is how we do things. We start what we finish, you know. Just routine. Hey, you come home, you eat a snack, you do your homework. Maybe you watch TV for 30 minutes, you know, wash dishes, you do chores. So I just thought to never complain. I knew it was hard, but I knew they went through harder, and it was just my turn.
Yeah, no, that's great. And talk about his family, right? I mean, after Ben graduated and went on and played and still playing at the next level, his dad, Festus, would text me, hey, Coach, coming to the game this weekend. Looking forward to seeing you and the missus at the tailgate and so on. So they're still loyal fans, and this is
Goes to about 4, and I'm 8 years out, and he's like, hey, son, you coming this weekend? I'm like, yeah, let's go.
right. And, you know, that's tremendous. And then I don't know if I ever told you this story, but back in the day when he was getting drafted, so Ben had all kind of folks at the house, you know, big extended family, Nigerian family over at his house. And I was fortunate enough to be invited to go over and celebrate that big day with him as well. So we went over to the first day because we weren't quite sure if it was going to be first day draft, first round, or second round, and so on. And I don't know if I ever told you this, but when I was driving over to your house on that first day of the draft, Dean Kennefick, our sports information director, called me, and he got a call from Kevin Rogers. Kevin Rogers is a former quarterback for us who is high up in the scouting department for the Indianapolis Colts. And they were vacillating whether they were going to take you first round. But they ended up taking the guy from BC, Costanzo,
a good friend of mine,
and then took you second round. So the thing that I really enjoyed about that whole process is I went over there the first day. Unfortunately, Ben didn't go first day, first round, but I was able to go over there and really enjoy a very festive evening with great food and great company. And then I was able to go back the next day because we knew he was getting drafted the next day. So I was able to go over there and celebrate with Ben and his family 2 days in a row. So I really enjoyed that. So thanks for inviting me. But I don't know if I ever told you that they were thinking about first round.
So wait, now tell me, when that second round happened and that pick was up, did you know?
No.
That would have been. I'd fight you right now.
No, they're not letting that out. Don't you think I would have told you if I had known that?
Coach, he fights, I'm running. So you know. But that's great. Hey, Ben, we really appreciate you taking time to join us tonight. We wish you well with that shoulder. Get healthy, and we look forward to seeing you back on the field next year. So we're going to take a quick break before we talk about those fighting Blue Hens that are coming up this Saturday. So it's Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Back to talking Villanova football with head coach Mark Ferrante. And coaches, we entering the week, we'll call it Delaware week, as you guys get prepared for the Battle of the Blue Trophy. You guys have been very successful. I think it's 11 of the last 12 games have come Villanova victories in this series. Talk a little bit about the Blue Hens, what troubles you a little bit, what they do well, and what's going to challenge you guys, and we'll talk about what you guys need to do well to beat them.
Well, no matter what it is, when you're playing Delaware, it's your rivalry game, right? So it's one of those games where you throw the records out the window, and regardless of who's playing for what or not playing for what or so on and so forth, it's going to be an exciting game, okay? And as far as what they have a lot of good players. They are very senior dominant on defense. Their whole secondary is seniors, and looking at their depth chart, freshman year 11 starts, sophomore year, these guys got 33 and 40, going on 40 starts under their belt. The whole secondary is very talented, and the guys we faced before. Their two linebackers have a combined 11 years. Chucky Bell, unfortunately, he's been hurt. For them, unfortunately, he's been hurt a couple years, so this is his 6th season. Wow. And then Troy Reeder, the Penn State transfer, he's been playing a lot of football. He played at Penn State, now he's been at Delaware. So their second and third levels are all seniors, and then they have a couple of seniors up front. So their youth is a little bit up front, but they're very good on defense. And, very experienced there. Troy Reeder, the linebacker I just mentioned, the transfer from Penn State, he's the leading tackler in the CAA right now. So he does a great job, and he does a great job on special teams. He's a big physical linebacker. He'll rush the punter even when they're in punt safe. I think they have more blocks in punt safe than they do when they're trying to go after the block, because he'll come through there and knock one of the personal protectors back and get his hand on the ball, or knock the personal protector into the ball. Wow. So they're very good on defense. And then on offense and on defense, let me finish that up first, I guess. They're very opportunistic. They have a good red zone defense. I think we both, them and us, lead the conference in interceptions. They have 15 interceptions. We have 15 interceptions. Nasir Adderley, their safety, who's a very good player, who's a local guy from Great Valley High School here, he has 4 interceptions. Christian Benford, our freshman corner, has 5 interceptions. Those two guys lead the league. So very opportunistic on defense, and they don't give up a lot of big plays. On offense, Pat Kehoe, their quarterback, seems to really be doing a great job as of late taking care of the ball. They started out, they lost their opening game to Rhode Island, so that was their first league loss. And then they, had a tough game out at North Dakota State. But then they had a 5-win game, game win streak going on until just this past weekend, where they lost a real close contested game to Stony Brook. So offensively, they have a big back, Connie Kane, who leads the league in rushing touchdowns, and he has 10 rushing touchdowns. And then they have another guy who's a little smaller, so it's kind of a 1-2 punch, where a big guy who's going to bruise it up in there and run between the tackles, and then a guy who can, make some moves and make you miss in space and so on. And Kehoe is, I think, the second leading touchdown passer in the league behind Flacco down there at Towson. I think he has something like 17 touchdown passes to only 6 interceptions, so he does a good job taking care of the ball. So they're big up front. They got the league-leading tight end, preseason all-league guy tight end, who was, I think, second-team all-league last year, maybe first-team all-league. I can't remember exactly what his accolades were last year. But, they're a very experienced team. They're a big team. They have a lot of numbers. I think their roster is about 113 deep. Wow. So they have a lot of guys. And, like I said, it's going to be a very exciting / physical game. But it's our rival game. And, as I said, you can throw the records out the window. We're in the exact same situation we were last year. Last year they were 7-3. We were 4-6, unfortunately. This year they're 7-3. We are 4-6 again, unfortunately. And last year we were able to come out on top and keep the trophy at home up here on our mainline campus where we'd like to keep it. So we're hoping that the Battle of the Blue trophy, as you stated, will be able to come back with us on the bus when we come back from their stadium this weekend.
And you talk about a rivalry game, and a lot of times in those type of rivalry games, emotion plays such a large part. I remember the game last year, Jeff Steve with that pick 6 early in the games kind of set the trend for you guys, got the momentum going early defensively. I guess the mindset of the club going into rivalry, this is the last opportunity for some of your seniors to get out there on the field, so you expect the emotion and intensity to be there, I would assume.
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, we had some of that emotion early on in this past game, and obviously we were making that comeback because it was our last home game, and senior day brings out that type of emotion. Well, Delaware is that same type of game. You know, it's a rivalry game. We have graphics in our locker room, you know, basically for that rivalry game and so on. And it's a big game. It's our guys, you know, geographically, they're only 45 miles away. So it's a close proximity to our campus. As I mentioned, the Seattleese from Great Valley out here in Phoenixville, and they have other guys. We recruited the Reeder brothers, you know, from Sleazy Annam. So their guys know our guys, and our guys know their guys. So you know, that's what makes it a big rivalry. There's a lot of familiarity, not only geographically, but also in the personnel on each team and so on. There's some games where you don't recognize the names of the opponent, you know, depending on where their main recruiting area is, so on.
A lot of these guys probably spend time at camps together over the summer. And
no doubt. They've been to our camp. They've been to Delaware's camp. They've been to Rutgers and Temple's camp. So we've seen them multiple times. And, you know, we recruited some of their guys. They opted to go there. They've recruited some of our guys. They just chose to come our way. So there's a lot of familiarity there, and that's what makes it so interesting. That's what makes it a big rivalry game. And, you know, we're just excited to go down there. And, you know, I was talking to Chucky earlier about, you know, where's the mindset of the team and so on. And his first statement was, you know, it helps that it's the Delaware game. It helps that it's the Delaware game because, you know, you just have a little bit of a different approach when you're playing your rival.
No doubt. Coach, we're going to take one last break, and then we'll come back. And since this is our last show of the season, we'll do some thank yous and thank people throughout the season that made this a special year for us. So it's Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. We'll be back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Talking Villanova football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Coach, we got about 3 minutes left here, and first of all, I want to thank you for having me a part of this show. It's been a special week, a special year here at the Green Turtle with wonderful hosts who've had great crowds, great hospitality from the Green Turtle. You brought some great guests to the show, and I appreciate you letting me be a part of it.
Oh, man, are you kidding me, Steve? Thank you for being here, and you've made it real easy for me, and obviously want to thank the Green Turtle. Really appreciate them hosting this event and all our people back on campus with Fox Sports and organizing that and getting that going. And, you know, Joe, our guy over here, our audio guy, and our camera crew that comes in every week, we really appreciate them. And as you said, all our guests, you know, our current players, our past players, you know, Ben and Chucky here today. And, you know, I want to thank Coach Wright for being here last week and Chris Long for the Eagles of calling in. And obviously the voice of Villanova, Ryan Fannin called in one time. So I appreciate everybody's support there as well. And all the folks here to our immediate left, I know we're on the radio, but, you know, some people are watching on Twitter and Facebook. The loyal crew that we have here to our left that are here each and every week, I really appreciate their support. And, you know, they're continuing to tap the rock with us as we continue to try to do the same. And, you know, I want to thank, you know, my friends over here, Don and Susie, and my wife, Georgie, and my son, Jimmy, for coming out. And I'd be remiss. She's not here today, but she's here for every home game, probably half the away games. And I got to thank my biggest fan, my mom. My mom is someone who you know, her name's Betty, but I've been at Villanova 31 years. And every day, every week, not every day, every week before our game, I get a voicemail from my mom wishing us luck. And, you know, some of them I've saved. I should probably put a recording together because you'd really get a kick out of some of the things that she comes up with. You know, like, hey, Wildcats, go pluck the feathers out of those owls this week or something like that. She tries to come up with something creative every week. I don't know how she keeps making a difference and coming up with different things, but, you know, I really want to give a shout out to her as well. And I just appreciate everything that everyone's done, and hopefully we'll be back at the Green Turtle next year.
Okay. Well, Coach, you talk about we want to win every game. Obviously, we want to go 11-0 every year, but what it really comes down to, and Villanova is such a big part, is that family. You talk about your mom and your wife and the people here, and we appreciate you all. I'm just going to throw a couple of quick names out there. Personally, Fox Sports, Danielle DeRosa, Kevin Levy, and Drew Young. Special thanks for Dean Kennefic, who gets me all these wonderful stats and information pregame to make me sound like I know what I'm talking about. Coach Ferrante mentioned all our guests, but our owners here at the Green Turtle, Pranav and Jigger, we appreciate you guys having us. We look forward to coming back next year. Ryan and Sarah behind the cameras all year. Joe Gaines, our engineer. So, guys, that'll wrap it up for this year. We've got one thing left to do. We're going to go beat those Blue Hens on Saturday. So that wraps up this season of Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante, live from the Green Turtle. Thanks to Joe Gaines and studio engineer Ryan Lennox. This Saturday, the Cats travel to Delaware. Game time is 12 o'clock. We'll be on the air with the pregame show at 11:45. This has been a special year, and we special thanks to head coach Mark Ferrante. This is Steve Pannone. Have a good night. This is 610 ESPN.